Hi everyone, it's Mark Merrill with Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media. We're dealing with some real bad, dangerous actors, folks. But this gentleman right here is not one of them. You know him as Tucker Carlson, as you can plainly see here. But what we're going to do right now, folks, is we're going to make sure that you understand where he's coming from and some research that he's done. And he posted something recently on August 11th in regard to what's going down behind the scenes and the smoke and mirrors that's going on that we'll get to in a monologue in a few minutes.
Calls the sitting president and tells him, "You're done." Then tells, this is what the piece says, tells Kamala Harris, "Okay, you're gonna be the nominee, but if you don't gain traction, if you're not popular, we're gonna take you out too." I mean, it's all shocking. It sounds true. New York Times and Washington Post, by the way, Wall Street Journal have not done any meaningful reporting on this. So I know this is like a tired observation at this point, but the same people who've been lecturing us, berating us, finger wagging for years now about democracy just kicked the president out of his spot without any votes being cast at all, ignoring the votes of Democratic primary voters. Like, I can't imagine a graver attack on democracy than what they just did. The people who are elected have all the power because the people have all the power. I think that's the way it works.
Popular sovereignty.
Yeah. And so if unelected officials inside the executive branch are making all the meaningful decisions, that's illegal. That's unconstitutional, isn't it? I mean, do we have a right to know what the hell is going on with our government? Who's running it? What's going on with Biden? Who knew? For how long? This is a massive charade. It's obvious now. The whole thing is fake. I mean, that's the conclusion that I'm reaching. Don't we have a right to know the details?
Of course we do. Because we should be concerned, because this potentially affects our national security. This certainly affects all kinds of policy decisions. And, one of the problems, of course, is that we've made the federal government as a whole more powerful than it was ever designed or intended to be. Now, remember, we've got three lawmaking functions, or three functions of government, rather. You've got the lawmaking function performed by Congress.
Yes.
That's the most dangerous power. It was therefore given to the most dangerous branch under circumstances where that branch, the legislative branch, Congress, where I work, you can fire every member of the House every 2 years, and 1/3 of all the senators every 2 years, because we've got the most dangerous power. Then you've got the executive branch, headed by the president, whose job it is to enforce the laws. And then you've got the judicial branch, headed by the Supreme Court, whose job it is to interpret the laws and resolve individual disputes that arise about what the law put in place, either by Congress or through the Constitution, means.
And by the way, at a time when, it's getting pretty hard to find a job in the United States, the federal government is on a hiring spree.
Yep.
Like, they're expanding as everyone else is suffering. I mean, it's so. But here's what and I say this with respect, but I've never understood this in the 35 years I spent in Washington. I saw Congress get less powerful every cycle, and the executive get more powerful under Republicans and Democrats. And you sort of wonder, like, where's the self-respect of Congress?
Yes. So,
why don't they do something about that?
James Madison didn't foresee this particular feature. James Madison predicted in Federalist 51 and I believe to some degree in Federalist 10 and 15 that power would be made to counteract power, that the natural incentives of the people serving in each branch would cause them to defend their own prerogatives.
Yes, exactly.
What I don't think he foresaw was this.
Now, folks, that's a reality check right there. Mark Merrill once again here for Fairness in Reporting Media, the firm. Real bad and dangerous actors. That's just a snippet. The information segment that Mr. Carlson titled was "I'm exposing the whole thing even if it might get me killed," is now upon the entire population of the country, ladies and gentlemen. This had over 51,000 views on August 11th, 2024. By now, I'm sure it's got a lot more. However, we suggest, folks, to all of you around the country that you link up with Tucker Carlson's website and his channel so that you can get the full scope and message from him and make up your own minds before the vote on November 5th, 2024. One of the most important ones that we're going to make as American citizens in some of our lifetimes. And also for the future of our children and grandchildren. A topic we're going to get to right off here in another few minutes. But these left-wing nut radical elitists that we label them here at Firm are mentally and physically unstable individuals with nothing but hate, jealousy, murder, and world control and power on a smokescreen agenda of satanic demonic destruction. We put it any clearer than that? So please be safe, folks, in the meantime, and pray for the safety and restoration of our United States of America Republic. Now, another one we have going on here, folks, as we thank Mr. Carlson, is a free speech center. It's at Middle Tennessee State University. They represent the First Amendment journalism in America, kind of like our organization. We're talking about facts, reality, and common sense here. But as we back off just a little bit so you can see that, there we are. Truth, facts, reality, and common sense. That's us here at Firm. The Free Speech Center at Middle Tennessee State has hit on a few topics that we want to cover, but even though briefly, see what it's all about. Climbing on Waltz, Tim Walz, to be exact. While the media coverage of Mr. Waltz has been fawning thus far, it should be noted that the vice presidential candidate was wrong about misinformation and free speech, according to a Reason organization senior editor, Robbie Sove. College students embrace campus speech, but are concerned about how others use that right, according to a Knight Foundation Ipsos study. You think you know what freedom of speech means? Test your knowledge with an NPR history quiz. Careful. It's NPR. Stripped of their titles under a new law, Utah has become the first state to implement a statewide prohibition of 13 books from all public school libraries and classrooms. The author mocks state ban of her book with a social media threat to hit Utah with my cane. Ooh. Didn't you get your cup of Java? Maybe you ought to take a Midol. A Chicago-based policy institute has sued the Illinois Department of Labor, claiming that a new state law, Worker Freedom of Speech Act, violates employers' First Amendment rights. Louisiana became the latest state to establish a police buffer law to limit the distance journalists must maintain when covering police actions. They don't give a damn about the police, folks. Even up here in Maine. It's getting kind of touchy there, especially where people were shot and killed in Lewiston. What happened there? Janet Mills put together a commission that still hasn't reached a conclusion yet. Deflectocrats don't do anything. All they do is make things worse and spend more money that we don't have. Meanwhile, funerals have already been prepared and served on those 18 people that passed needlessly on October 25th, 2023. They don't care. They don't care. Elon Musk, in charge of X now, formerly known as Twitter, made a Kamala Harris deepfake ad go viral when he reposted it, sparking a debate back on August 12th about parody and free speech. Social media companies say they have First Amendment rights that protect their speech. Really? I'd like to see that in writing and in your blood. A year after the raid on a Marion County newspaper in Kansas, officials still do not care about constitutional freedoms, declared the opinion editor of the Kansas Reflector. Prosecutors in Topeka, same state, announced that they will charge the former police chief involved in a raid on a Marion County record with obstruction of justice. A New York City journalist who documented pro-Palestinian vandalism by protesters has been arrested on felony hate crime charges. Well, there is some retribution, isn't there? University of New Mexico police dismissed charges against 2 journalists who were arrested during a sweep of a protest encampment in May. Homeless people. And the journalists were arrested? Oi! God, people, grow up. So for more information, folks, go right here where you see this name. Free Speech Center at Middle Tennessee State University. We'll post it as well on Firm in the comments section. Coming up next, seems, folks, that the anniversary, or I should say the implementation of the legality of House Bill LD 227 has gone into the law books of Maine, unfortunately. According to Laurel Libby, who presented a newsletter recently called State-Sanctioned Kidnapping, coming soon. That's a good one. State-Sanctioned Kidnapping, coming soon. It looks like it's already here. Augusta Democrats pushed through the bill, which now grants the state unprecedented power over parental rights concerning transgender treatments and abortion. It's a significant setback, but Ms. Libby says it should also sharpen our resolve and clarify our mission moving forward. The House passed it in Maine, LD 227, with an 80-70 vote, and the Senate 21-13. The majority being Democrats in both houses. Darn it. In floor debates, briefly, a Democrat representative reminded us that Maine citizens make their voices heard every 2 years at the ballot box. The reality is that Maine has repeatedly elected Democrats. Now, why is that? We're going to investigate very soon, folks, here at Firm. What's the matter with the Republicans in this state? Independents, Green Party even, Robert F. Kennedy movement. Allowing those deflectocrats, we call them, to accumulate power and pass laws like LD 227. Here's a fact. This is what we thrive on here, folks. Thanks to Ms. Laurel Libby right here. The Democrats in 2022 only secured their majority of a razor-thin margin of 1,417 votes across 10 House districts. With 1.34 million citizens in our state, that, ladies and gentlemen, is how there could have been a different outcome to LD 227. We approach November, she says, it's imperative that we elect legislators who will stand firm for life and also protect parental rights. Let's stop reacting to what the majority is doing and be proactively working to ensure they can't pass laws like LD 227 in the future. One other side note here, folks, and you're going to see it right now if you don't see it already. There's organizations, of course, we know around the country called Planned Parenthood, and they're the ones who are pretty much the ones who are the culprits of the deaths of many preborn infants. But these grandmothers for Reproductive Rights, or GRR, say they're a feisty, passionate group of grandmothers and elders on a mission to advance reproductive health, rights, and justice. Yeah? I don't think so. Here's a little bit more on them, folks. And you can go to their website and express your opinion, especially if you're a grandparent. I would. We, meaning GRR, is pro-abortion. They embrace a bold vision for a society where abortions are affordable, available, and supported for everyone who needs them. Abortion justice. There is no abortion justice. Justice stands by itself. Doesn't need any help from you, Granny. You racist, terrorist grandmother. Belongs to any one of these groups. But they say, on their site, abortion justice can only be achieved while foregrounding the human rights principles of the reproductive justice movement. No, cancel them. Get out. Grandmothers for reproductive rights. Give me a break. Finally, folks, Governor Mills and U.S. Transportation Secretary Buttigieg, who really isn't one, highlighted a major federal investment in Portland's East Deering neighborhood recently with these individuals right here behind it. They are, I believe we have it correctly here, I believe it's Robert and Barbara Rue. Right here. David and Barbara Rue, who founded the Initiative for Digital Engineering and Life Sciences, or IDEALS, back in 2018, to create a graduate education institute in Portland, where over time it could become a force for innovation and create opportunity for Maine people. About 4 years ago, 2020, they announced a $100 million donation to establish the Rue Institute at Northeastern University in Portland. And after a 4-year search for a permanent home, IDEALS signed an agreement to purchase the Burnham and Morrow site at the One Beanpot Circle in Portland in August of 2021, and on behalf of Northeastern University is leading the zoning, permitting, and development effort for the Rue campus. What is it? It's the permanent home of the Rue Institute up in Maine now. Once established, though, it will replace the former B&M Baked Beans site with a high-tech hub for learning, research, and collaboration in the fields of artificial intelligence. It's already hot in the news, as I'm sure you're aware of, folks. AI, digital engineering, life sciences, and medicine, and create new public green space, waterfront access, and pedestrian and bicycle connections for all to enjoy. The familiar building, now a city-designated historic landmark, will remain at the heart of the site. A couple of things to keep in mind, folks. It's like, here we go again. Thanks to President Biden and Secretary Buttigieg's leadership in implementing both the infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, they are making progress in strengthening our communities. No. Throwing your weight around, Janet, through Biden, and now Harris, I'm sure, with DEI and ESG, governance, environment, and your own version of science. But here's one that's really a question mark here, folks. Portland Mayor Mark Dion. This is really not good, folks. It really isn't. He spoke up at the award of the $25 million, which is a grant from Biden-Harris, will answer a critical challenge of ever-increasing vehicle congestion confronting our neighbors in East Deering, as well as those who will soon become members of the Rue campus community. Now, who would those people do you think be with all of the illegal immigrants flooding our country? We have a northern border with Canada, folks. Do you think Justin Trudeau gives a damn about whether illegals cross into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, upstate New York? No, don't think so. And here's an oopsie. Grab hold of this one, folks. The $25 million raised grant is also part of a more than $1 billion in competitive grant funding awarded to Maine by the Biden-Harris regime, we'll call it, Under the bipartisan infrastructure law, Maine has been awarded $2.6 billion from the legislation to strengthen roads and bridges. Wait for it. Broadband, water infrastructure, public transportation, electric vehicle charging options. Listen how carefully they put that. Electric vehicle charging options. I mean, they're backing down from canceling and doing away with gas and oil and powered vehicles. Plus, they add on, it will also strengthen clean energy, climate resiliency, and more. Yikes. This is what Washington's secrets get us, folks. Deeper in debt and a whole lot poorer, and maybe less of our rights and freedoms. Meantime, folks, stay with us. You can always find Firm with me, Mark Merrill, on rumble.com/fairnessmedia1. Also on Twitter, YouTube, and email us anytime. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned, stay safe, and peace to everyone.